Welcome everybody to another Moontide Quartet reading. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday. We've got four fantastic poets for you, all Moontide authors, past, present, and future. It's very, very exciting. I guess past and present are the same thing, because once you have the status of a Moontide author, like, it doesn't go away. So I don't revoke you after a certain point of time. You are presently Moontide authors or future Moontide authors. So thank you for joining us. To the four authors reading today, thank you for agreeing to be a part of this quartet series today. Very stoked to have each of you. Our readers for today are Daniel McGinn, Alexandra Umlas, Aruni Wijesinghe. Thank you. And Ellen Webre, everybody. Not in that order in which they will be reading. Daniel was just first. He's the first screen on my left, so that's why I said his name first. So thank you very much for joining us. We're going to dive into our first reader, actually. Alexandra Umlas is the author of At the Table of the Unknown. This is her debut collection with Moontide, published in 2019. It's one of our best sellers. It's amazing. If you don't already own this, I highly recommend you guys getting yourself a copy. You can purchase copies of the Moontide books, the authors who have published already, on our website. I'll share that link in chat momentarily. You can find Alex's book on there and Daniel's book on there. It's a really fantastic book. It was a privilege to publish Alex and her amazing, amazing poetry. I'm so blessed that she trusted Moontide as the home to her first collection. So without further ado, please give it up for Alex, everybody.
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And it is a privilege to be published by Moontide, for sure. And thank you, Eric, and everyone else, Ellen. I'm excited to be here, and I wanted to read today my Crown of Sonnets, which I know I've read before, but I don't think it's ever been recorded. And so I'm going to take advantage of the situation to put this Crown of Sonnets out there in the world as a recording. So you guys are stuck with it forever and ever. And it's called Work. It's on page 66 of the book, if you happen to have it and want to follow along. And a Crown of Sonnets is just 7 sonnets that are linked. The first line of the crown is the last line of the entire sequence. And then the last line of each poem is the first line of the next poem. So it is difficult to write a crown, but as soon as you write the first line, you already have the last line written. So there's that. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it. It's called Work, and it's about all the jobs I've had. Work, the fast food restaurant. That work that gets inside and never leaves, like French fry fat and golden arches arched above the building, etched in thread on sleeves, while through the tires, hours, burgers marched in bags and boxes, filled the room with grease that couldn't be scrubbed off, her fingers slick with food that wouldn't rot, each bun, each piece of nugget, not quite chicken, but a trick done quick with breading, covering up gray gristled stuff. What else could it be named? The sizzled smell, the red burn that would stay on skin, its tender territory claimed with basket crisscrossed branding that would lurk across her arm, a symbol of this work. And that French fry basket just did sear itself right into my arm. And it was there until I was married. Let's see, I worked there when I was 16. I was married, it's probably there till I was 28, 30 years old. And then it just magically went away one day. 2, the bank. Across her arm, a symbol of this work, a starched shirt sleeve for air-conditioned rooms. Hot coffee flooded mornings in berserk horned traffic, red lights blink, the vacuum zooms on early morning carpet in the bank. Before the customers arrive, she sits uncertain what to do, the chilly yank of thin papers from thick piles at her wit's end. The only chatter, the keyboard's keys and clicking high heels across a glossy floor. She thinks, at least it's temporary. Please let summer go by fast. Let there be more than secretaries, desked with skirted hips, another coat of lipstick on their lips. The statistic department. Another coat of lipstick on her lips. Her boss is French and always wears black pants and drinks hot tea in small, sufficient sips, goes off on walks and sometimes goes off on rants about the university. The girl leaves early from work almost every day after filing applications in the curl of manila folders, studies, gets her pay, listens to her French boss telling her how she won't work on her birthday, but instead she'll pop champagne in the shower, vow to live, then pour the bubbles on her head. This is the best job she's ever had. She leaves a little sweeter, a little sad. The candy shop. She lives a little sweeter, a little sad, works at the shop on Santa Barbara's pier, where a threadbare turkey pecks away like mad at saltwater taffy, where lemonade flies leer and dive right in, their sugary deaths in vain. Scooped out with plastic spoons, secretly trashed, buried beneath boxes, their contents laying in the long, backlit glass case where she stashed the chocolates. Sour ribbons bright with fruit, square-wrapped caramels, gummy bears, and ropes of licorice. Toffee peanuts warmed, her loot waiting in white bags, folded over with hopes for jobs that pay more than minimum wage, and candy. She gets her BA, turns the page. The PR firm. Number 5. Her BA is on the wall. She turns the page of the press release, scans the text for errors. Another office, air-conditioned cage crammed with phone calls, bankers, lawyers, bearers of bad news, long lunches, suits and happy hours that aren't so happy. Filled with handshakes, hectic turn to dark dawn, even the coffee cowers in its pot, awaiting the eclectic mouths that will consume it gulp by gulp. She's trapped inside a Fourdrinier machine, pulverized, then pressed into a pulp, refined and bleached to bone white, thin routine, typed and proofread, indelible ink on so many things. The task, the call, the brink. Number 6, the public school classroom. This is where things got better. On so many things, the task, the call, the brink of something new, she's hired in a pinch to teach kids how to read and how to think about their reading. Slowly, inch by inch, she fills the room with books. She's 22 now. This used to be a science classroom, and now she's tasked with breaking through the webs. The dirt-crawled classroom, taking glass jars off the shelves. What's in them looks like brains or something worse. The students take their seats. They read. She learns the unexpected pains of calling Child Protective Services, meets the officer in charge who doesn't know if the girl will be all right or where she'll go. Number 7, the home. That work is done for now, so where she'll go can't be known. She watches her belly grow, her ankles swell, veins, rivers small and blue. The girl births girls and all work becomes new and strange. The work of keeping things alive by spoonfuls, fears that suddenly arrive like swarms of bees, like locusts in a field of blooming flowers. The work of orange rinds peeled back, of apples sliced, of kissing knees, of teaching right, the work of teaching please, the work of letting go. The work of loss that travels through the body, weaves across the workings of the heart, the way it cleaves. That work that gets inside and never leaves. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to my crown. Encourage everybody that's in here right now to write one. You got to try it. It's hard, but it's worth it, I promise. And that's all I'm going to read.
Well, thank you very much. That was a wonderful suite of crowns, and I'm glad we've got it recorded.
Yeah, me too.
We'll make sure it gets up on YouTube, courtesy of Ellen. So thank you for that, and
Thank you, Ellen.
we'll share your crown with the world. All right. Our next poet has a book coming out with us later, late this year. A chapbook of erasure poetry, all pulled from the novel Love in the Time of Cholera. It's going to be fantastic. Aruni Wijesinghe, her collection is entitled An Epidemic of Cholera. And I believe she'll be reading mostly erasure poems from that, maybe a poem from the upcoming Shit Men Say to Me anthology as well. So please, without further ado, give it up for Aruni, everybody.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for being here. I've actually got a smattering of different things. Some from Eric's workshop, some from the upcoming anthology Shit Men Say to Me, and some from An Epidemic of Cholera. So this was composed in Eric's workshop this past year. It's a list poem, and it is titled What We Found in Uncle's House. What we found in Uncle's house, a globe with the old borders, Baltic states swallowed inside the USSR, naming dead countries, defunct empires, and $140 worth of US postage stamps, letters unsent, surplus of empty envelopes yawning in their carton, and twin boys in matching blue play suits captured at Sears Portrait Studio, the plastic frame cracked but free from dust, and 3 electric rice cookers of varying cup capacity, steaming basmati rice for one, and 217 bottles of vitamins, supplements for heart health, brain health, and virility, fistfuls of immortality, and 4 blue tins of Danish butter cookies, cellophane wrappers intact, and 31 caps balanced on a wooden hat rack, a tree of tweed nests emptied of birds, and 3 sets of bangles, 6 bangles per set, green, orange, and turquoise, studded with brass, price tag fluttering 175 rupees, and a plastic box containing 43 paper clips and Auntie's wedding ring set with cloudy diamonds and a single pearl, and 7 copies of the Quran, 1 illuminated in gold calligraphy, 1 held together with duct tape, 1 small enough to tuck into a sedan glove box, and a .22 caliber rifle, not loaded, and a maroon prayer rug layered atop a foam pad facing Mecca, and 15 packets of seeds brought back from Hyderabad, brinjal, bitter gourd, green chili, ladyfinger, never planted, no unruly vines overrunning garden borders, the way suns cannot be contained. This next poem is something I wish I had submitted to the Shit Men Say to Me. It's called Glow. The summer I am 7 years old, Philip Maneri from down the street teaches me to catch fireflies in empty Hellman's jars, air holes punched in the tin lids. We light our library books with flickering lanterns, and beating wings cast tiny shadows on words. We release our tiny lamps, glints of lightning in our small cupped hands, and return to lives behind screen doors. The same summer, Jeffrey Maneri shows me that fireflies still glow after he kills them. His sneakers smear comet tails across our porch. He smashes the bugs between sweaty palms, anoints his face and arms in their bioluminescent depths, reminding me that boys can paint themselves with the glow of what they destroy. And with gratitude, this next poem is in Shitmen Say to Me. So thank you to Hanalena, Victoria, and Danya for picking this, not out of sentiment, but that you thought it should be included. So for that, I'm truly grateful. Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick, cream color number 640, Blackberry, part 2, begins with an epigraph. With my mask, I controlled all of the mouth movements with my own mouth. Peter Mayhew. And for those of you in the know, he's Chewbacca. His thumb wipes disdain from my lips. You know what they say, he growls. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Looks at the smudge on his fingerprint, rubs the dark on the thigh of his jeans. My naked mouth, defenseless. So as Eric mentioned, I am writing a collection of poetry all drawn from the text of Love in the Time of Cholera, Garcia Marquez. And so I'm the second translator of this text because it went from Spanish to English and then English to English. So I'm teasing things out. And oddly, when you write erasure poetry, you find yourself in another story. So I'm in conversation with two different authors in a way, as well as conversation with myself. So I'm going to start with a persona poem. So this is actually not erased from the text, but is based on the character I most identify with, Florentino Ariza, who is, for me, the crown prince of love unrequited. This is titled Florentino Irresistible, and it starts with an epigraph from the book. He is ugly and sad, but he is all love. I'm comfortable in my gauntness, my black frock coat gallant, hearkening to my chivalrous heart, suddenly the moda. Fermina will lose her caprice, will never be swayed by the snickers of her schoolgirl friends as she walks to chapel. She will press the camellia petals of my love in her schoolbooks, dream herself my violin, all trembling strings and curved wood. She will breathe in the arias of my night language, will float out of her open window, borne on the fetid Cartagena air like a flight of doves. She will enamor herself of gray, become stricken with a choleric fever, unquenchable and fatal. And I think this whole idea of writing a whole collection of erasure poetry was born in Eric's workshop when the prompt was write a poem to the person you think you're writing for. So I found this in cholera, as I find all things. In this book, it's my Bible. This is in the Arcade of Scribes. Insatiable to read stories cruel and most perverse, he would recite me at literary evenings, his familiarity acute. Reading poetry like finding an oasis. He devoured me. Bought from the bargain booksellers, me, the least of the local poets. He read as if ordained by fate. Clear that he preferred verse and love, he memorized me. And, heartrending, he learned. And at this point in my life, I'm choking on nostalgia because I'm home, family photos. This last poem, I think I workshopped with Eric. And this is, as it's Valentine's weekend and I don't write love poetry, this is as close as it gets. So this is my love poem to the past. This is called The Things Left. You think that you left things behind, forgotten in the coat closet at 2 Revere Place, tucked in the back behind the winter coats and ice skates, or left behind in the garage, leaning against the wall closest to Mom's orange AMC Hornet, the one with the AM radio only, songs that drifted out the speakers, songs from the Grease soundtrack, hopelessly devoted to you, and you're the one that I want, acting out scenes from the movie, the neighborhood kids taking turns at Danny and Sandy and Rizzo, or those other songs left in the cabinet of the big black console stereo crouching in the basement. Echoes of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, electric sliding up the stairs and into the kitchen where Dad is blowing up more balloons that he rubs against his curly hair to generate the static that sticks them to the wall. And on Monday morning, there will still be crepe paper streamers left, scotch taped to the wood paneling, still crumpled wrapping paper left on the floor, exposed gifts of Monopoly and Connect Four piled on a folding table, and leftover birthday cake sweating sugar onto a Pyrex dish in the kitchen fridge, the pink roses bleeding into the white frosting, ballerina candles blown out, tilting arabesques next to your icing name, left waiting for you to eat, like you eat the dogwood trees, pink and red in the front yard of Two Revere Place. Eat the tough skin jeans, stiff and impossibly indigo. Eat the purple banana seat bike whizzing down Howard Avenue. Eat the 17-year cicadas and the baseball cards and the last half ounce of Mom's bluegrass eau de toilette. You've eaten all these things because we grew up in a home where waste, nothing left behind on the plate. Thanks, you guys. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Aruni. Wonderful, wonderful smattering. I like how you word that. I'm going to take this opportunity. Aruni did mention that she read a poem from the forthcoming anthology we have. I'm going to share right now in the chat. So for this anthology, for those who don't know, it was inspired by a Facebook Live reading of Moontide's author Danya Akuli, and she could probably write a book of all the shit men say to her. And Aruni actually, I think, was the one who chimed in and said, like, that's what the next anthology should be. And I absolutely agreed. So it's an anthology of poems in response to toxic masculinity. Some of the people in this Zoom are actually in the anthology themselves, along with Aruni. To pre-order the anthology, we actually decided to do an Indiegogo campaign since we are in a pandemic right now, and it's kind of hard to do live events to, basically get the book in as many hands as possible across the country. We thought about doing it this way, and there's all sorts of amazing perks you can get. One of those perks are hand crocheted bookmarks that Aruni is making for every single pre-order and perk purchased through the Indiegogo campaign. So I'm going to put the Indiegogo campaign, a link to it, in the chat right now. Those of you who have donated, thank you so much. Those who haven't but want a copy of the book, you can get a copy just by pre-ordering. You don't have to feel like you need to purchase one of the other perks, but there are some really amazing perks if that is up your alley. And also, I just want to say that we actually have reached our goal within the first 2 weeks. The Indiegogo campaign will last for 2 months. Thank you for that happy dance, Aruni. But what's great is that the additional funds that Moontide gets is just going to help sustain our future to put out books like Aruni's and Ellen's forthcoming book, to put out our many more necessary anthologies, as well as fun, eclectic anthologies as well too. They continue to support voices that often will get overlooked for whatever reason. I really believe Moontide has a mechanism. It's a vehicle to get people's work out there that, for whatever reason, gets overlooked at times because they're maybe not as well known, or they're overlooked for, who they are, where they're coming from. So I love being able to give people that deserve books homes. So so consider donating. Like I said, it moves the press forward. It helps us, buy ISBN numbers, pay designer and artist fees, distribution costs. The money won't go to waste. So that's my halftime plug. I'm sorry I don't put on as good of a halftime show as The Weeknd, or any other famous people. So that said, I'll come back to, this is really kind of cool, full circle. I planned this ingeniously, which means I didn't. The next author who's going to be reading, so Daniel McGinn actually was the first solo author that I published when I took over Moontide Press. When I took over Moontide Press, I kind of laid low for a little bit, wanted to kind of regroup and restart and rebrand the press slightly. One thing that Michael Miller did with the press that I still believe in is the idea of putting work out there that gets overlooked by larger presses, and that's something I want to carry forward wholeheartedly. So that wasn't something I wanted to rebrand per se, but maybe the aesthetic, slightly. We have varied aesthetics, and the first thing I did was put out an anthology called Lullaby of Teeth. And that was kind of a great way I felt to kind of put out there the work that Moontide is going to be looking at going forward. But after that, I didn't have a single author lined up to publish, except Daniel asked me for coffee one day and talked about a collection that he'd been working on. He had a book already out with Right Bloody called 1,000 Black Umbrellas, which is a fantastic book. I wrote a great review for it, so I'm a huge fan of his work. So I was totally stoked that he thought of Moontide for the home for his second collection. This book right here, it is amazing. And it is apt that also it's the day before Valentine's Day, because Daniel's got some wonderful poems in here. The book is called The Moon, My Lover, My Mother, and the Dog. All things to write love poems about. So without further ado, please give it up for Daniel McGinn.
Hi. I am aware that it's the day before Valentine's Day, and I'm aware of what happened in the Senate today too, but hopefully this will give us a little diversion from the cowardice that was displayed. I'm going to open with a poem that's over 40 years old. And it's kind of, I have poems from the book in here, and if you like this, it's the same voice. And I also have more recent poems and older poems. I just started from a starting point of one poem and let the set put itself together. So I have it here. I have on a page. I think I'm going to read it off a page. Okay. You still me like the moon when the darkness drops. You stun me with the strength of your beauty. You warm me like a fire on the coldest night, as the flames rise and spark, always changing. I will be here when the embers turn to ashes, turn to dust. May the shelter of your arms always house me. At the break of day, when my eyelids finally fall, may I be calmed by the rivers of your breathing. The moon. What is the moon? My moon is a word like mom, or bullets, or lynching. Love is a word. A man might say, I love my mother, or I love my bullets, or I love my lynching. The moon will stare back no matter what you say, hotter than a flashlight in a possum's eye, which is why the waves break the way they do. It's why you do the things you do. And when the moon hides behind her clouds, you can feel the warm night climbing up, moving deep in your loins. Water makes up so much of the earth's surface and even her body that the hair on your wrist sits up and begs, even if you don't own a wristwatch. The moon knows about time. Time is a word. Time is money. Moon is a money word. Some words always evoke a response. Fish in your pocket and find your words there, nipping at your fingers between the matchbook and the coins. The moon is why the fish keep biting after the sun has gone to bed. The moon is why all the stores have closed. Once upon a time, a man and a woman took a walk by a body of water, and after they talked, they couldn't help but notice the moon. The moon is why we agreed to fall in love. The moon is where our babies came from. Pisces, twins. Rejoice, that child that flows from you, that forms into a pool. On the green floor, I remember you on your side with spasms of pain, muscles pulling, cold drops form hot on your face, flushed, rolling side to side. The fish are jumping. Where is the water? Oh, where? And Michael begins the motion. He dives. Now push. Rejoice, that child that slides from our breath and blood to swell and grow. And Dylan is sliding. Push the fish on the land. Fruit of your breast, new souls. Problem with pages is they stick together sometimes. I'm sure I want to do this. 1, she never cuts her hair. I mean, she never had it cut short. She could have with a face like that. She could have done whatever she wanted with hair like that and her sweet sway back. Is there another poem in the way she walks or how she is with children or grandchildren? Should I write a poem about us in bed lying on backs as she swims through the change in a pool of sweat with a fan blowing on her pretty face, her body awash in moonlight? Should I write about myself, wide awake, floating in a pool of worries, my shoulders no longer able to swim, my ankle swollen, my back arthritic, my chest once stitched has never been the same. I look at the ceiling, I listen to you. You have no idea how hard it is to fall asleep and not hear you breathing. Should I write about how I watch you sleep because of your face and how good it makes me feel? I love your hot flashes. You're not inclined to wear much, and less is always more. All I wanted was to mate for life. I keep checking to make sure you're still here. Look what happened to us. Look at the life that came to me through you. 2, a gray-haired woman pats my shoulder saying, today is Sunday. Did you remember to take your medicine? I'm finally forgetting what day it is. I lean my head against her right breast. We had good sex. Maybe that's the key. My pulse is blushing faster now. What about your heart, she says, as she pinches and pulls my earlobe. Are you sure you want to do this? What about your back, she says. What about your leg? A note to self. Be thankful for the dishes waiting to be washed. Be thankful you are not alone in your car, unwrapping a meal under parking lot lights. Be thankful you can feel the pain that stabs your back when you rise to meet the day. Be thankful when you put on your own pants, one leg at a time, because nothing lasts forever. The day is coming when you will no longer be able to tie your own shoes. You will know something is wrong, but you will not be able to recognize your own hunger. Be thankful she is there to feed you, forgive you, and remember your name after you have forgotten hers. Missing Marlene. I don't remember when coins were worth money. I know you do, Marlene. You saved them religiously inside a cast plaster statue of the Virgin Mary, back when silver was silver and coins were backed with gold. I never thought I'd live to see the day when our government would fill them like cookies with a soft copper center. California has been burning for years, Marlene. Tonight the moon is glowing like the tip of God's cigar. Ashes flutter down like tiny angel feathers. My chest is heavy, my heart sore. It's the end of the world, Marlene. The ocean smells like sewage and infects our wounds. We can't touch each other or go outside without wearing face masks. I will always love you, Marlene, and can see you leaning on your pickup truck a long time ago, before you died, when we still had most of our marbles. Don't be sad. This is what it is, just like the president told us when he was afraid we might all start to panic. An ode to Gerald Lachlan. The first time I saw you was almost 50 years ago on a chapbook cover. You were overweight, naked, sitting in a bathtub full of water with a can of beer in your hand. It was a book of poems. You referred to yourself as the toad, not to kiss the toad and it becomes a prince toad, just another illegitimate son of Bukowski toad. This is poetry you can understand, toad. Over the years, we watched you grow thin and sober, a blue-eyed Irishman with a devil's glint in his eyes, hair sort of combed, jeans a bit oversized, standing next to a tower of chapbooks placed on a stool that you would never sit on. You danced when you read. You danced when you sang, and you weren't a fancy man who believed in singing lessons. Whatever you did was for the joy in the moment. You made titles out of punchlines. Your poems were as unpretentious as an apple core with skin and flesh removed, never a wasted syllable. You made art of things the rest of us threw away. If you were allowed to choose an exit door, you would have chosen the one marked COVID-19 and died a death we all can understand. One as commonplace as iceberg lettuce and bologna on Wonder Bread. The award-winning professor who regarded students as his teachers, who was pleased to be published anywhere, would pick the disease of the bus driver, the caregiver, the essential worker. Death by chocolate. I wanted to talk about my future. I took death out for a cup of coffee. I assume you like yours black, I said to Death. Death said, no, I'll have a white chocolate mocha with little marshmallows floating on the top. Is that for here, the barista asked. Death said, no, we'll take it to go. Last poem. I am ready to listen when you are ready to talk. The cookies in the jar are waiting for us. Here we go, dropping crumbs, walking deep into the woods. We are ready for anything. The yardbirds greet the morning, and the morning is ready for us. Here we go, but we go by fast. We are ready to decant a decent wine. We are not ready for what is ready for us, but here we go, and here we stay. I'm ready to listen to you read a poem. The front door is open and ready for me. Here we go again. Let's do this together. I'm ready to dance if the dance is with you. The dog in my chair is waiting for me. Here we go, I say to my daughter, and she takes her first step. I am ready for the turtle doves to return and nest again. I reach for your hand and you are ready for me. Here we go, etching names in the bark of the mulberry tree. I am ready not to say anything. Just put on that dress and get ready for me. Here we go, I say to the poodle as we stick the shift. I'm ready to pull away from the curb. I apologized and you were kind to me. Here we go on sidewalks and here we go on trains. I am ready for some merrymaking. The books on the shelf can wait for me. Here we go with legs that work and bodies that swagger sway. I am ready to let you drive. Tomato plants are buzzed by bees. The yellow flowers wink at me. Here we go, holding on for dear life as the planet spins in space. I am ready for the end of wars. I knock on death's door and death is waiting for us. Here we go, we can't go back. I'm ready to call you beautiful. I didn't plan this. This was always ready for us. Here we go, singing hallelujahs with polished plates of sunlight haloed high above our heads. That's it. Thank you. And I'm happy to be part of the Moontide family. It's a good place to be.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for sharing that wonderful poem about Jerry. It was really wonderful to hear. Up next, closing out our quartet. FYI, stick around a little bit after the reading. I like to close out the quartet reading with a brief Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for our authors, maybe start brewing those in your head. closing out our quartet for the evening, someone who's very dear to Moontide. She helps out with our marketing, keeps things moving on social media, is responsible for all the incredible videos we have on our YouTube channel, and also taking these quartet readings and putting them up on YouTube. Also a few other projects that fingers crossed pan out in the future that she will be responsible for helping out at Moontide Press, but can't speak on those right now. But she's very much a part of our family, and we are so incredibly privileged and honored to have her debut collection of Burning Lake of Paper Suns coming out in the fall around October, which is the perfect month for Ellen Weber because she is all things elegantly spooky. So without further ado, like she has these wonderful, amazing, like, and she'll wear them when we do the dark ink reading, these amazing, beautiful horns that she puts on. And they're just fabulous. Give it up for Ellen Weber, everybody.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, Eric. I am really excited about my upcoming book. So I will be reading some selections of poetry that I have intended for that book. Gonna start off with one that was published in Shit Men Say to Me anthology, one of 3. So if you want to read the rest, you'll have to get the Indiegogo, order the book. It'll be amazing. So this one is called Teenagers Will Scream If You Love Them. We children of dark horses, the silver-tongued and claw-tipped, the furry-tailed and horned gods of transport cry and christen this car as Holy Chariot. We children of carved tools press our knees to leather, smack boots to rubber road, hands and lips in prayer for our hang-dog mouths. Burbling the holy wine of bones and beginning, we break the bread of dreams in milk teeth. Hungry for divine spit and circumstance, here we howl. Here we ride in the belly of the morning and evening sun. The world wakes to our shrieking, and we carouse for the pleasure of our king. Oh, blue-eyed, oh, ripped jeans and perfect knees, he wears a coronet of thorns sideways, smoking cloves and clover, burning us charcoal, we spread our skin for the rip of his carnelian clutch, when he takes our throats tender, sows seeds of black bruising, sweet violet, we shake off sleep like dogs in water, we ribbon fingers in gold to whip trains raw, we light cigarettes with explosions you've never seen anything like this before, new girl. Open wide. And swallow a golden yoke, soft sacrament falling from his hands. Our king thinks you deserve a taste of the future. Child, come crawling, or we shall drag you in crooked, scraping your knees on the supplication you crave whenever he strikes the concrete. Your smoke rises thickly at every passing graze of his holy. He could scrimshaw your bones right out of your body. He could rope your ankles and flay you slow. You would still blush scarlet. You would still sing his name. He knows you know. Can't help but smile out the window at the scorched earth we have raised in his honor. Can't speak. Can't say it that he wants without making it true. You bring out the ocean in him, the sweat-stuttering stammer of soft shaking in his sacrilege, the way his hands flex from the branding your hands give. Teenagers will scream if you love them. So give him a kiss, girlie. Summon your courage. You'll hear his voice through us, our never-ending wail. Thank you. So Valentine's Day is tomorrow, so a lot of these are going to be revolving around love poems, some of the dark parts of it, as well as the good. So this one is To Be on the Other Side. In the beginning, you wrote the answer, and my body burrowed into mudflats, and the pools of my eyes charcoaled, my mouth sorrowing in the silence of the drowned. It was this I had been waiting for. A portrait of the monster I was to become. Your kiss made my mouth a bottle green lake. Your touch planted sweetgrass down my spine. I never want to treat you badly. I want to make you feel seen and heard, so come home to me. Let me drink your dark waters. I have hollowed out so much space for your anguish, your fear. It tastes so sweet. Verdian waves. Belts of silver swing around rosy hips. See how they shift in bangle swirls, river shine in its gunmetal blue. If you seek to lay your kisses in dips of bone, warm flesh, soft invitation, take her hands in yours. Lips in pilgrim's prayer, lay her down, splayed butterfly of burgundy velvet. Roll down sheer stockings. For she is black sugar, gold sand, sun-kissed nectar for your tongue. Take her gently by the throat, by her curls, by her hitched breath sigh, and spread the universe panting at her feet, right here, right now. Don't Look Down, after a line from Commute by Kim Hye-sun. You head toward a life you won't be living, and the hand in your hand is already a ghost. What you don't know keeps you running on air after the cliff gives way. Confession, there is no truth you can agree on that will keep you and your joy in the same sky. The ghost in your hand is flickering, begging, drowning. Do you know? Your joy is crying. Your joy is overwhelmed. Your joy is taking off his face and filling it with snow. Don't look down. He is still behind you. You do not see him. He is waving goodbye, but you do not turn. You hold your hands and head toward a life you won't be living because all you believe in is abundance, is an ocean of stars, is a burning garden built in the indigo night of a future you will never get to hold because your muscles are made of prayer and gravity knows your worth. 10 months later, you are in a car and crying and confessing again that you've been left behind. Smoked and stolen by moonlight, still groveling down the gasoline trail of your devotions. The distant piper mocks you with their strange nakedness, their leaving, disdainful self-loathing, letting you go for your own good. Never mind that you'll pick laments from your teeth for years. Never mind they've plucked every star out of the sky. Emptiness puts on weight in your throat. You find that you cannot speak for a vertigo of fever, for the red mirrors you drip on the driver's seat where your lover has carved a golden war across your arms. Monstrous. You may take me for a flower-crowned creature with sharp teeth and soft bite, some fork-tongued siren who has lost her tact. It is 3 a.m., and I am making confession to one who thinks me a liar, or at least doesn't believe what I say I mean when I sing the praises of my language. And it is wise, and it is the truth. I have been lying in wait, in alleys and cellars, cavernously trying to make myself a home for any broken-hearted boy foolish enough to crawl inside. Yet he is the teasiest little shit, exposing a heartstring succulent, raw on the cutting board, testing my addiction without offering a morsel. It sends my nerves to war to be such a ghost. exiled and invisible in times of peace, when my unhinged jaw opens to the ground empty. Mythology of the Restless, after Richard Seekin. In dreams I've told no one, you lay your head in my lap, and all the wolves fall silent. And this last one is going to be the poem with which I took the title of my upcoming book from, Into My Arms. Out of my dreams, you arrive like a burning lake of paper scents. With you, I am violet and gold, flickering, a dandelion basking in the sun drench of another curling midnight. This easy exchange of bloodstreams, this friendship and ecstasy, this orbiting of the moon is a dance of mandarin ducks. You, my peridot, sage fire, you crest the hills of purification. And with trembling hands, I salute my approaching paradise, breathing in the perfumed verses of our sudden but natural intimacies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellen. For those who didn't see, I posted a link to the Moontide YouTube channel that Ellen is responsible for curating. So if you don't subscribe to us, do so you always know when new videos get posted. And that's where you can go back and see this quartet reading and quartet readings of the past. So thank you, Ellen, for all you do and for this wonderful collection I look forward to publishing in October. So at this time, well, first of all, big thank you to Alex, Aruni, Daniel, and Ellen for sharing their work with us today. We're going to do a brief Q&A for a little while, about 15 minutes or so. So how it's going to work is just type a question in the chat and we'll pose that to the authors. It could be about inspiration for poems, questions on craft, things of the such. Sometimes if you ask a good question that I think is like a lightning question, I'll ask that same question of all four of the poets. So poets, keep your ears perked up. So do we have any questions to start it off? Give you guys a minute. And if not, then you can just continue to compliment in the chat. Lots of compliments for you guys. Okay, so Robin's, okay, this is good. Things are coming along. So Robin's asked a question. Alex, what are your top 3 tips for writing sonnets?
Oof. Don't give up. That would be number 1. I mean, that's the inclination, right? I mean, I've so many sonnets I've started writing and I'm like, okay, I give up. I can't do this. I like Italian sonnets because even though they're a little bit harder to write in some ways, you have to rhyme the same word more times. They at least you don't have to rhyme as often, if that makes sense. So an Italian sonnet is A, B, B, A, B, B, A. So just if you can get a good A and a good B word, and you can make a lot of different rhymes from those words, then you've already got a good start on an Italian sonnet. Whereas a Shakespearean sonnet, you have to have more of those words. And then, let's see, that's 2, right? So my third one would be, don't be afraid to rework the whole thing if you see it's not going to work. Because it's really awful when you have written a sonnet and then you see that one of the end words doesn't work and you need to change it and there's no other words that you can put there, then you have to change the entire thing, which is the worst. But it also forces you to say things you would never, ever, ever say unless you had to do that. So like, I do not consider myself a very creative person. I also don't consider myself a very intelligent person. I know that sounds funny maybe, but honestly, like I am of normal intelligence and of normal creativity, and I need form to push me into saying things in a different way. And that's just the truth. And that's why I think a lot of times my formal poems are sometimes better than my ones that are in free verse. And sometimes I have to write a formal poem and then take it out of the formal element to get a good poem in free verse, because I'm too literal and I don't play around enough. And so the form helps me do that. It forces you out of that boringness. You know, if you're just a regular old human being like me.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. Great answers. And I really like that last part that you said about using form to push you. Leanne asked a really good question. I'm going to pose to all the poets. I'm going to go in reverse order. So I'm going to start with Ellen. I just lost it. Yes. Okay. Leanne asked, what themes or metaphors do each of the poets return to repeatedly? So Ellen, I'm going to start with you and just go backwards.
So one thing that I find myself returning to in the book quite a lot is painting the lover as a monster, someone who wishes to devour while still being tender about it. And so imagery that goes along with that is the moon, blood, bones, foxes and rabbits, going into the underworld, a lot of wildlife and plant imagery into it. I'll have to think about that more, see what I keep returning to.
I think that's a great answer and very evident in your work. Next up, to answer that question, a man who's never written a poem about the moon, Daniel.
Well, actually, the question is,
what metaphors or themes do you find yourself returning to frequently?
The moon, my lover, my mother, and the dog, for starters. I think that it's kind of inescapable that there are themes that are natural to us and motivate us. And it's kind of frustrating by the time you're my age to be going, oh my God, I'm writing another poem about my mother. But there's a realization that if it's only about my mother, it's not a very good poem. And you're welcome to lie as much as you like, so long as it's a true lie and it's a good lie, and it's a lie that will say, make that mother something universal, that'll make that lover universal, that'll make my dog your dog. So when I work with the themes I'm stuck with, I try to be loose enough that it's not literal, that whatever I'm talking about hopefully is universal in some sense, because you want to see your dog. I mean, you don't really want to see mine.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. Really, really awesome answer in regards to the true lie. Aruni.
Gosh. So I don't really write love poetry, but the more I think about it, the more I think it's all love poetry. And it's messy and complicated and imperfect and ugly. And that's what being human is. I write a lot about loss. I think you get to a certain point in your life and the amount of love you've experienced is probably equal to the amount of loss you've experienced. And the universality of that is beautiful, I think. What else? I think all poetry is fiction and it's all autobiography at the same time. So I think that's how you can take the personal and make it universal. Is we're all going through it all the time simultaneously together, but maybe my Aunt Joan in England is not the same as your Aunt Joan in England, something like that. But love and loss, I think.
Great. Thanks, Aruni. Alex?
It's all those things that everybody's saying that are really all people or things that are paradoxes to us, right? They're there are things that we don't quite know, like mothers. Oh gosh, mothers are the ultimate paradox, and we just don't know quite how to explain it. And so we write about it and write about it and write about it in hopes of saying something that we haven't figured out how to say. Same thing with my children, right? Especially a 13-year-old, ultimate paradox. Or my husband, who I am both baffled by and intrigued by and completely in love with all at the same time, and yes, and maybe I hate him a little bit too. And so I think that probably comes, I said it, I know, that probably comes out, right? Like, I have this thing where I think sometimes he's trying to kill me. It comes from my parents. My parents always joked about like putting, my dad would say that he was going to put the hairdryer in the bathtub. And my mom would say she was going to close the garage door before they had those sensors, those safety sensors that they had to get because my parents were going to crush each other in the garage door. I mean, they're still married. They've been married for 50 years, but that's part of love too, right? And so, yeah, it's what everyone said. It's those paradoxes. Sorry.
Excellent. All right. Someone else asked a really good question that I'm going to pose to all of you too. Is your favorite part about the writing process? Is it that first draft, the editing, the sharing of the work? I thought that was a really good question. Kelsey asked that. Oh, and I guess I will start with Alex. Ha! You weren't paying attention.
The writing process?
Yeah, what is your favorite part of the writing process?
The favorite part in the whole world is when something happens that makes that spark, that you have a poem, and the only thing you have to do is force yourself to sit down and write it. And then you can get, you have to sit down and write it, because if you don't, it disappears and is gone forever and ever. And then you can't ever remember what it was. It's that feeling that you get like right before you know you have something. Like when I got home from walking the dog and I felt like a complete idiot because he wouldn't go pee, and I knew I had a poem. And if I didn't sit down and write it, that poem would have never been written. Or pulling two hearts out of a chicken while I was cooking, and not even continuing to cook, but putting the two hearts down and maybe washing my hands and going and writing that poem, because if I hadn't done it right then, it wouldn't be a poem. That's my favorite part, when that happens.
Cool. Great answer. Aruni.
The writing part sucks. The having written part is amazing. You can sit and the screen is no longer empty, or the page is no longer empty. That, and when you can tell somebody, hey, let me read something to you, and they look at you and say, I totally get that. And in that way, they totally get you for 10 or 15 words. And you just think, wow, maybe I'm not alone in this. Because writing's a very lonely prospect, and you're, sitting in your garret with no heat, and you can't pay the rent, and you're writing these words, and it all seems so pointless and inane. And then someone gets a hold of it and goes, yeah, no, I see you. And that idea that somebody sees you, maybe more than you see yourself, is startling and it's such a gobsmack experience. But the actual writing part is horrendous, and I just ripping my hair out by the handfuls and thinking about deadlines and thinking I'm a complete hack. But every once in a while I write something down and I think, yeah, I've got a handle on this tiny little corner of the human experience for a second, and hopefully in that second somebody sees that and thinks, yeah, I can see you, and I can see me too.
Awesome. Well said, Aruni. Daniel?
To answer that question is like trying to untie a knot. Sometimes it's just so tight you can't pull it apart. I would say the worst part of it is the blank page. Once the draft begins to write itself, that's a joy. Once you begin to edit, I enter like I don't know, it's a different state of mind. I can spend 2 hours and go, you know, okay, I'm done. But I mean, and sometimes it'll go on for 2 years, but and then what we just did, I mean, all of it is all tied together. It's all part of the process so far as I'm concerned. So I find that question kind of unanswerable.
All right, very good.
You look at me as dating I just, I don't have a favorite part.
No, that I think you expressed it. Yeah, you expressed it very well. I like the, the diversity of each one of your answers. Let's close it out with Ellen.
So my favorite part is split between both the writing process and the sharing process. Like when you feel like you've written an experience or an emotion and transformed it into something beautiful or elevated that pulls from language, from wherever it comes from, just transforming it into something you feel that you can share with the world and have people connect with. It's like the magic of transformation and metaphor from one thing to the next. But sharing it and the community that comes around writing and what we bring to our literary table is my favorite part. I love hearing feedback, what people like about my work, what they think could be changed up, and just being able to hear and engage with other people through the different lenses of the persona that we create through the writing. So.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course you can.
I really missed that part of the process. Since I was, say, 17, part of the writing process is getting in front of people and feeling their reaction and go, oh, I need to change that. Or, oh, okay, that works in a way I didn't expect. Or, boy, that was painful to write and it's funny to them. But to be able to hear what they hear as you read it is absent in a Zoom environment. A chat bar, it's just kind of a whole different experience.
I know. We all feel that way.
I was hoping you could fix that for me, but I guess not. I'm kidding.
Fix that how? Cure the pandemic?
Yeah, that would be great.
I mean, someone's asked me. I think it was Alexis. She and I were talking the other day, Alexis Fancher, and as in terms of with the vaccine rollout, progressing as it is, and more of us getting vaccinated, or close to it. What are things going to look like in terms of readings and things of the such? And I think, once we start seeing the world open back up again, I think readings in different kind of spots will come back, but they're going to look a little different in the beginning. I'm pretty sure it's going to be very similar to some of the stuff that we see, when we saw during the political season. We're going to see plexiglass over a podium. We're going to have someone changing out a microphone. We're going to have seats still spaced apart, still wearing masks even when vaccinated, and that's just going to be kind of what the new normal is. But then from there, I think things will change, and with time, it's not going to happen overnight. But I'll take sitting in a room 6 feet apart in a chair behind a plexiglass on a podium, changing on a microphone, wearing masks when it's safe enough to do so over Zoom and the Zoom chat. I agree with you, Daniel. So I think, the way we do readings is going to have to adapt and evolve, just like we did as soon as this started. We all learned to adapt and evolve to Zoom, and it allows our community to stay in touch with one another. And you're right, though, it's different. And yeah, I'm right with you. I'm right there with you, Daniel, is that I miss that, just feeling that energy, having people in the same room. Like you said, you're sharing your work, you're reading your work, and you kind of get a sense for how it is, how it's working, whether it's, something that you're kind of trying out and it's new, and you kind of need that, audience response to know whether or not that punchline landed, or, that moment of softness, how that's being taken. like you were saying about, well, that was really heartwarming to me, but they found it funny. And that's an interesting thing to discover. You can't do that necessarily on the Zoom chat. So we'll get there. But, as a community, we're all still here for each other. And I think recognizing that, Daniel, and expressing that, we all miss it. And we'll get there again. We will. I have complete faith in us as human creatures. So that's going to bring us to the close of these questions. Really great questions, though. I loved all the questions. I loved all your guys' answers. The diversity of it. So thank you so much. Sorry, someone just. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this Saturday. A couple things real quick to announce. The first book of the 2021, Everything is Radiant Between the Hates, Rich Ferguson. He's going to have his book launch on Saturday, March 6th. So look for an announcement for that soon. And we hope you come check it out. Rich gives an incredible reading. He's going to have a few other poets reading some of his work. And some musical guests. So if you want to join us, it's going to be at 4 p.m. on Saturday, the 6th of March. So do check out the event page when we create it soon. There will be another quartet reading. There'll be another quartet reading in the near future. And Ellen just posted again the Shit Men Say to Me Indiegogo. So thanks for that, Ellen. So stay tuned. If you're not a fan of Moontide Press on Facebook, like us. We are I think 3 likes away from having 1,000 followers, and that's exciting. So definitely, if you do not like us already on Moontide on Facebook, please go like us and be that 1,000th person. And that way you can also stay in touch of everything that we've got going on. Rich's book launch, future quartet readings, future book launches. Thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday before Valentine's Day. I wish you all an incredible, wonderful Valentine's Day. I'll keep the Zoom room open for a couple minutes, so you cannot, if you want to turn on your camera and say hi to somebody, you can do so. Thank you again to all our readers, to Alex, Aruni, Daniel, and Ellen. Thanks for being part of the Moontide family, and thank you everybody in the audience for spending your Saturday with us.